Hello the internet, welcome to Corrupted Save File. For some reason a mouse and keyboard or good old fashioned gamepad isn't enough for some people. From an Atari brand 2x4 to a bionic fapping aid, we're looking at the 10 worst peripherals issued for consoles. The Sega Action Chair. Released in 1992 and retailing for £99.99, this was a Mega Drive controller that consisted of a cheap vinyl chair encased in a metal framework that looks like a modern art project, possibly decrying the evils of fun video games. The way it was supposed to work was the chair itself was mapped to the D-pad on the controller, but in actuality you'd have better luck controlling your games with your innate psionic ability. The thing was about as comfortable as sitting on a tea tray balanced on a bowling ball, and as much use as free condoms at a unit convention. The Roll'n' Rocker. Designed and made by LJN, who as viewers of the excellent Angry Video Game Nerd will know are also responsible for some of the worst games in the NES library. The clumsily named Roll'n' Rocker was designed to be stepped on and used as a D-pad. Unlike the Sega Action Chair, the Roll'n' Rocker had the added feature that you could slip off and break your ankle at any moment. It also had the minor design flaw that it would break if you weighed more than £100. Looking like a fugly abomination of a torture device, it just flat out didn't work most of the time. Released in 1989, the Power Glove was a wireless gauntlet that was supposed to track your movements and translate them into actions in-game. It worked by attaching 3 clunky sensors that you had to stick to the sides of your TV. You also had to input specific codes for the specific game you wanted to play. There were many problems with the Power Glove, not least that it was as much use as a chocolate teapot. To use it you had to hold your arm out in front of you. After only a few moments your arms would go to sleep. The Power Glove was only really good for pretending you were getting a hand job from Robocop. The Sega Activator. The first ever full-body motion sensing controller, released in 1993, a full 13 years before the Wii and 17 years before the Kinect. There is, however, a price for being so ahead of the curve. Firstly, it only really supported 3 games, and secondly, it didn't bloody work. The idea was that you stood in the middle of a cheaply made plastic octagon, like you were trying to summon the demon of crap controllers. To move, you had to break the infrared beam, and the beam you broke would perform the corresponding action, as long as you didn't have a ceiling fan, or a light fitting, or anything other than a completely flat ceiling with a completely consistent paint job. If only there was some way of controlling games that didn't involve doing the okie dokie. Oh, wait. The Vitality Sensor. Announced at E3 in 2009, the Vitality Sensor was to be another add-on for the Wii, which at this point had more gadgets than Batman. The particular peripheral never saw the light of day, however, because Nintendo couldn't get it to work properly. Also, the applications for a heart rate monitor on the Mii are as limited as the menu in Monty Python's Spam Cafe. The Atari MindLink. Hype in video games is nothing new. In 1984, Atari announced the MindLink, a hands-free controller that consisted of a headband, the advertising for which led gamers to believe that they would be able to blast pixels with their mind. Unfortunately, the reality was a little more analog. The MindLink was supposed to work by reading the myoneural signal voltage from the player's forehead, which in turn would be read by infrared sensors and translated into movements in the game. In other words, you had to sit perfectly still and pull faces at the TV while wearing a cyberpunk Alice band. The Super Scope. Remember how good the NES Zapper was? Well, I don't. Ours was a ZX Spectrum household. But the NES Zapper and the Spectrum Light Phaser are the quintessential light guns. You could shoot from the hip, hold it sideways if you were feeling gangster, or aim down sights and generally feel like a badass 8-bit gunslinger. So what did Nintendo do when the 16-bit era rolled round? They released a 24-inch plastic drain pipe with a sight on the side about as accurate as Donald Trump's tax return. Ultimately, this combined with the woeful amount of games that were released for it, made this oversized peripheral's only real use as a melee weapon during the zombie apocalypse. The Atari Stick Station. Imagine for a moment that you're a gamer in the late 70s and you have the world's least ergonomic controller in the shape of the Atari 2600 joystick. But it's the 70s and you don't know any better. So what do you do to combat the crippling cramps that always resulted from protracted use? Blue tack it to the table? Hell no! You get a plank of wood, cut a hole in it and balance the whole thing on your knees like a 1.5 kilo block of 7th grade woodwork project. The laser scope. The laser scope was a light gun that you wore on your head like a bulky pair of earphones, with a Fisher-Price microphone and a monocle that looks like it belongs in a bad 70s sci-fi themed porno flick. The idea was you would balance this contraption on your head, where it would sit with the poise and elegance of a tin of baked beans, and then you were to say fire to fire in the game, again and again and again. Discounting for a moment the sheer number of times that you would need to say fire in any given NES title, the laser scope had a better union than you, and therefore only worked when it felt like it. Rob, the robotic operating buddy. Rob was launched in mid-1985 with a lifespan of approximately that of a jellyfish in a blast furnace. This goofy Johnny 5 reject was only capable of supporting 2 games. Nintendo actually pulled a bit of a fast one with Rob, because they realised that following the North American video game crash of 1983, the bottom of the market had well and truly gone sideways, and retailers didn't want to touch video games with a 10-foot barge pole. Nintendo made Rob with the intention of showing that the NES was more of an advanced toy than a video game console. What, did they think they were making an entertainment system? Oh, right.
Sister, I never can get this. Sister,